Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed coffee and bagel just now and had some time meeting other attendees and our ProLinkers. We'll randomly be selecting one participant to receive a $50 Starbucks gift card. So the winner will be receiving an email from us in just a couple of minutes, so be on the lookout for that. At the end of the day, we'll announce all of our winners on the conference homepage. The session you have just joined is a training on portfolio property data update utility in ProLink HFA with Jessica Britton, Customer Success Supervisor with ProLink Solutions. This session has an intermediate difficulty level. Before we start the session, just want to repeat a couple housekeeping things a few more times, just in case you missed it in our previous sessions. On the right side of your screen, you're going to have access to a chat feature. You can use this feature to chat with other attendees, ask any questions, or make any comments. We'll be sure to respond to you in a timely manner. Be aware that all of your comments will be available to or visible to all of the attendees assessing the session. Also below the chat feature, we have a poll feature. Throughout the session, we're going to have 3 polls displayed one by one. You'll have about 30 seconds to respond. We'll close the poll and then the results will be posted on the slide. Now I'd like to hand things over to Jessica. So Jessica, if you could please take over screen sharing and take it away.
Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen with everybody. Okay, well, welcome to this session and welcome to ProLink Tech Live. I hope you are all enjoying your time with us, and I hope that you're getting everything out of it that we're hoping to. So over in this session, we will be discussing an overview of the portfolio property module, as well as what goes on in a property onboarding for portfolio property. We'll also be discussing the AM characteristics screen, and then going over the portfolio property data update utility tool, and then performing a demo of that tool. So first off, what is the portfolio property module? And to begin, I want to just kind of give some basic acronyms that will be kind of utilized just in case you're not 100% sure, you're kind of new to housing. And so DEV would be development, TC or TCA would be tax credit or tax credit allocation. And if you see PP, that stands for portfolio property. So what is the portfolio property module? The portfolio property module within ProLink HFA supports all asset management and compliance activities. And within each property, a state agency can capture multiple data points, including general property information, financial statements, risk analysis data, compliance and inspection data. And ProLink HFA's portfolio property module supports both multifamily and single family portfolios. A question that you may see a lot is, where can I view my agency's portfolio properties? And that is from the My Portfolio screen or in multiple data views within the system, but the My Portfolio screen is your best bet. So from that screen, if you choose all and as the properties for and all on property status, you'll get a list of all properties that are listed within the system or that have been created within your state agency's HFA system. So first, I'll go our first poll question. So how comfortable are you with the portfolio property module? So very comfortable, could know more about portfolio property, and never used the portfolio property module before. And I'll go ahead and give you about 30 seconds to go ahead and answer that question. We should be timing it somewhere. I don't have that. I don't have a watch. So Sam, I may have to rely on you when 30 seconds is up. Has it been 30 seconds?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, you can go ahead and move to the next slide.
Okay. So it looks like more could know more about the portfolio property module. So thank goodness you're in the right place. 6 people said they're very comfortable, and 1 has never utilized the portfolio property module previously. So for those, looks like 12 responses, this is going to be a really great place to learn. And we're really excited that we're able to kind of go over this with you today. So going into the property onboarding section of the presentation. So firstly, the biggest thing is knowing when a property can be created or transition from a dev deal or a TC deal. So we do know there is a lot of nuances and differences when it comes from a state agency as to when that process will take place. But best practice for us is that when a dev deal is in the stage of dispersing and the status is fully dispersed, and a TC deal is in the stage of 8609 at feasibility and the status is approved 8609 issued. So those are both visible from the edit dev deal stage and the edit TC deal stage. And I'll go ahead and show on HFA where that would be. So and I've gone ahead and created both a dev and a TC deal here, titled Oz Apartments. And I may be the only person that's super excited for the upcoming Wicked movie, but okay, so from your edit deal, and this is on a dev deal, as you're going through the process of that dev deal, you're able to update over here the stage from pre-pipeline all the way to dispersing, and the status will depend on the chosen stage. So obviously, if you choose stage of pre-pipeline, it's going to have different statuses. But for us to move into a portfolio property, we would like the stage to be dispersing and fully dispersed. And then similarly for a TC deal, well, it goes over there. With a TC deal, you have to advance the stage. So I've already gone ahead and done that here, but this button up here, Advanced Stage, is what you would use to advance the stage for a TC deal. And you would just go through the process of the TC deal till you got to the 8609 at feasibility, and then the status you would just update to approved 8609 issued. So next, you would want to be able to confirm the TC deal data. So on the applicable TC deal, you want to confirm that all the building data is entered. And you want to really focus on that bin and the placed in service date, because this is information you can transfer over from using the portfolio property data update utility. So I kind of outlined those here. When you want to confirm a dev deal, the things you really want to focus on a dev deal will be the dev deal information, deal entities, and dev deal locations. So as you'll see later on, when it comes to utilizing the portfolio property data update utility, locations is only available when you're utilizing a dev deal. And so all of this information that is under the dev deal locations will be able to be transferred over to that portfolio property. So there's a few ways to create a portfolio property. Best practice in most cases would be to create a blended deal. And this means you're creating a dev, TC, and a portfolio property at one time, and they are linked all together. But again, we know there is nuance in the process of how that takes place with each state agency. So your state agency may not have that as part of their process. So you may create a TC deal or a dev deal first, and then want to be able to then create a portfolio property from that. So what you first want to do is be confirming that you have a portfolio property linked. So from the TC or dev deal, you can navigate to the portfolio property screen and verify that you have a portfolio property listed. And like I was saying, if one is not listed, you can go ahead and create a portfolio property from the system or link there. So that would take place on this screen here. So as you go to portfolio properties on this deal for a TC deal, you can see here that it does have an associated portfolio property. And you do want to make sure it is checked off as primary. But your other options, if you do not see one here, is to utilize the search option at the top, and it will open up a search modal. A second. And you can search by the portfolio property name, HFA number, address, city, jurisdiction, anything like that. And then you would hit go and it would bring up options. Your other option, if you have not yet created a portfolio property already, is to click this Create Portfolio Property button, and that will utilize the data that is within the TC or dev deal to create a portfolio property for you. And that's kind of just going over what I was saying just now. You can click that Create Portfolio Property button, and that will utilize the data within that dev or TC deal to create that portfolio property, meaning like name, address, things like that. There are multiple data points within a portfolio property that you can update, and those include things like multi-family details, the physical location, legislative info, asset management activity, contact info, developer type, special identifiers, population data, and enhancements. So these are all multiple locations you can update here, and we do recommend updating as much as possible or recording as much as possible for different various reporting requirements within each state agency. So buildings data. When you create a portfolio property, from the main portfolio property screen, you'll be able to navigate to the buildings tab, and each building you'll able to provide information like the bin, the amount of units on that building, the place and service date, and you have the ability to add a photo of that specific location. This is also where your tax forms, like your 8609, are housed as well. Configuring units. For unit editing, again, under the portfolio property from the building, right under the buildings tab, there is the units tab. By clicking on that units tab and then clicking into each individual unit, you have the ability to edit the unit information, and this edit unit screen provides details about a particular unit, some of which is populated by the location record. But from this screen, you can easily navigate to view and enter utilities, amenities information, as well as list a view of all available tenant events on a unit. And so something that you'll see more than likely in your next session that Sarah is holding on LIHTC compliance is that things like the programs here, as well as tenant events, is going to be filled out during compliance season when you complete that, or when your property managers complete that. And one thing that we do have at ProLink that is really assistive to all of our agencies is we have smart docs. And for buildings and units specifically, we do have a smart docs that makes that process of updating or adding buildings and units to a portfolio property a lot easier. So this allows you to kind of add all the information at one time for one building at a time, as opposed to having to manually enter all of that information singularly on each unit. So this smart docs is used on one building at a time and can be used to update building structure and amenities, unit fields like unit number, number of bedrooms or bathrooms, and square footage, as well as multiple other data points. So pretty much all the data points that you can see within a building or unit edit screen as the values that you're able to edit on this Smart Docs file. So go over that really quickly. So from the portfolio property, as I was saying, your buildings, here. All this data, like your place and service date, your BIN number, and address, and all of that can be updated directly from the Smart Docs file, as opposed to having to enter all of it manually into the system here, as well as things like structures, utilities, and amenities. And same goes for units. Instead of having to go in and directly update each of this unit information individually on each unit, you can, for each building, set up and perform a get to bring that data into the system, and then perform a send to send that data back into HFA. Another piece of information that will be assistive when it comes time for compliance season is setting up your Procorum Work Center. So from your portfolio property, right under the property information on the left-hand panel, there is that button or link that says Set Primary Work Center. So this is going to need to be set for you to be able to have your owner agents or property managers upload or import or manually input that data for each of your tenant events. And so to complete setting up that work center, you're going to click that Set Primary Work Center button. And if you already have, or if you do not have a work center already created, you're going to make sure that Create New Work Center button is checked off. And you're going to make sure these values below are correct, like the work center name, who that work center owner is, things like that. You can also utilize this to bring in templates for Procorum. So if you have a template for your compliance work centers or for specific asset management work centers, you can choose that template and choose to bring in the files and folders, posts, and collaborators as well when you are creating that work center. And that is similar for if you already have a Procorum work center in the system, you can link this portfolio property to that already created work center and choose the work center from the drop down. So instead of choosing the Create New Work Center button, you would choose Link Existing Work Center, and from the drop down, choose the appropriate Procorum work center at that time, and then you would save that. Okay, so now we're getting into our AM characteristics. So this next question is, what are AM characteristics? So the AM characteristics screen is where an agency can set up the activities that are required during the asset management compliance phase. This screen provides the ability to indicate if inspections, compliance audits, and file reviews and financials are required for a property. So our recommendation is to review and update the screen as needed annually, on a regular basis annually. So some things that we do recommend if you are a property that, or if the property is utilizing LIHTC data collection, is to check off on your AM characteristics screen this checkbox that's titled HUD LIHTC data collection. What that does is it enables an additional screen on the left panel called HUD export on the portfolio property, and that allows the agency to review entered data for the annual HUD upload. And then if you are on that screen, by hovering over an empty or null field, it's able to tell you where to fill in that data. So you can make sure that your HUD export or HUD import is complete and available for when you have to complete that, usually I think around September of every year. So the first item I'm going to go over in AM characteristics is inspections. So configuring your inspections. From the AM characteristics screen, a user can configure any inspections that may be required for the property. So for a single program properties, you would want to use the specific type, meaning REAC, tax, credit, or TCA inspections, or MOR. For multi-program and or combined inspections, we recommend using the general inspections requirement, which is the last one here. And then from this screen, you can also choose the default inspection model, Inspire or UPCS, and notate why a certain type of inspection may not be required. So from your AM characteristics screen, you're able to notate whether or not these specific inspections are required. So I've gone ahead and on this one, I've checked off that they're all required. And then you can also choose if you are saying, say, lender inspections are not required, you can say the reason here, no agency financing in this case. For instance, for general inspections, you can also choose a default inspection model. And when you choose a default inspection model, when you create your inspection in the next round, it will automatically choose that inspection model on your inspection screen. So that's a handy thing to have for inspections each year. Compliance audits and file reviews. So compliance audits, so from the AM characteristics screen, a user can indicate whether compliance audits are required and allowing them to be easily created on the property at a later time. On the created compliance audit, on the edit AM compliance audit, the audit type can be chosen and audits can combine LIHTC with other as needed. So these are two separate screens. So firstly, from your AM characteristics screen, you're going to be choosing whether or not those compliance audits are even required. And then when you actually go and create a compliance audit within the system, you're able to choose that audit type below. So that will look something like this. So here, compliance audits are required. That has been saved for this property. When you go to your compliance audits here and hit new, this is where you'll be configuring that specific compliance audit for each time, for each year. Then we can go back to our portfolio property. And then on that 2024 compliance audit that was created. You can here choose the audit type for that specific, whether it be LIHTC, lender, or other. You can also choose the scheduled month. So we can say December, and then enter things like the date the audit was performed, as well as who, how many files were audited. And then a lot of this data can then be pulled into things like data views for you to be able to review as a whole later on. Financials. So in every property, you can also set up financial reporting requirements and also notate like how many days due before first day of year and like after last quarter, these financials are due. So It is only if your agency is configured in the ProLink HFA system for standardized financials, you'll be able to see these options on to be able to set those requirements for the property. But each HFA can configure their operating budgets, monthly periodic financials, quarterly periodic financials, and annual financials. Okay, so poll question 2. Where do you define the monitoring requirements for a property? The edit portfolio property, the edit AM characteristics, edit financial, or edit AM special activity? A few more seconds here.
You can go in advance.
Thanks. Oh, wow. Everyone chose the correct answer. I realize now that I wrote correct answer there, but great job, everybody, for choosing the correct answer on that one. So now we're going to go into the portfolio property data update utility tool and the steps on how to complete that. So firstly, we're going to have our last poll question, and that is, have you ever used the PP data update utility? Answers are yes, I have used this tool before, or no, I am excited to learn how to utilize the PP data update utility tool. I'll give you 30 seconds to answer. Just hearing the Jeopardy music play in my head as I wait for the answers. In my head, the song ended. I don't know if it's been 30 seconds yet, though.
Okay, you can go ahead and move to the next slide.
Okay, so it's a little bit mixed. So some have used the tool before and some have not. So really awesome. I'm glad that we can go through this process together today. Okay, so firstly, kind of what is the PP data update utility? So the portfolio property data update utility is a tool that allows users to easily copy data from either a dev or TC deal to a portfolio property, and that reduces the amount of manual rekeying that is needed to be completed. One note that I want to bring to your attention as we're kind of going into this is that if there is buildings and units already on a portfolio property, using this tool, if you're using it from a TC deal, will wipe out existing and data and overwrite with building data only. The units would be deleted, so we don't recommend doing that. So this is only related to a TC deal. Dev deal, it does not do that, but a TC deal, if you're utilizing it for buildings and units, it will wipe out that data. So what fields can be updated with a using the PP data update utility? So from both a TC and dev deal, multiple fields can be updated, including the property name, the address, jurisdiction, units, total unit numbers, adaptive reuse status, if that property is a commercial space, the assigned dev officer, the number of buildings, and number of exempt employee units, entities, and contacts. However, only from a dev deal can these fields be updated. And that includes the primary contact phone number, the process type. If all locations are the same, location data, universal design percentage, preservation type, revitalization type, total beds, property use, supportive housing type, descriptive building type, residential apartment, year built, and additional other fields like latitude and longitude. So a couple of preconditions that we wanted to bring to your attention. So firstly, a dev or TC deal does need to be associated with the property. And all locations the same must not be selected on the edit portfolio property screen. If you go and check and it is selected, so like in this case, if you go and check and it is selected here, then you'll want to uncheck that and hit save. Go ahead and show that. So from your property on the edit property screen, no, this isn't. This all locations same here. You'll want, if it is checked off, you'll want to uncheck it and hit the save button here. Okay, so now we're getting into how do you actually utilize the portfolio property data update utility. So you're going to navigate to your utilities panel, and under the portfolio property header, you're going to choose this data update field bar on the bar. You're going to choose search from the top toolbar, and what will that will do will open the search deal modal. In that search bar, you can enter the deal name, the partial deal name, deal number, and click go. That's going to search utilizing all of those options. One note, only active deals will display in the search results. So if you do have inactive deals in the system, those will not populate here. So you also have to make sure the deal you want to transfer data from is an active deal. If you have a blended TC, Dev, and portfolio property all linked, you can review the deal type column to verify if you'll be using the property data update utility for a Dev or TC deal. So if you're trying to figure out whether or not you're going to be transferring data from your Dev deal to the portfolio property or your TC deal to the portfolio property, looking at this deal type column will tell you which deal you're transferring from, as well as you can utilize deal number as well, because that will also be listed here. You're then going to click on the applicable deal and portfolio property, and this is going to direct you to the portfolio property data update screen. So a few things to note on this portfolio property data update screen. In the top header section, it's going to go over the information as regards to the Dev or TC deal you've chosen, as well as the HFA number and the portfolio property name. So this is where you can kind of just make a quick check as to make sure that you have the correct deal, like your Dev or TC deal, and the correct portfolio property that you're wanting to transfer that data from. Secondly is the tabs. So there'll be tabs in both instances, but for instance, on a Dev deal, you're going to see 3 tabs, meaning the main tab, which will kind of be like that edit property type data, locations, and entities. On a TC deal, there's only going to be the main tab and the entities tab. Dev deals are the only ones that provide the locations option, as it was kind of noted a couple of slides above. So in this provided table, it's going to show the item or field that can be updated, the field value on the Dev deal, and the current field or value on the portfolio property. So you can use this to add data from the deal to the portfolio property or update. So if you, for some reason, updated the primary contact phone on the Dev deal and you want to change that on the portfolio property, you can do that as well. So you're always going to see first in the first column the deal values, either your Dev deal or your TC deal. And then in the further column, the property or portfolio property values that are there. So what you're going to do is you're going to place a check mark onto each field that you want to make, you want to update. So for instance, here, if you checked, you would check off total units and process type. And on the locations tab here, I checked off the zip, the total units, and the number of stories, because I want that data to transfer over. You can go through multiple tabs. So you can go through all main locations and entities tab, and you don't have to make those updates after completing each tab. You can do that all at one time. So you can make all of your selections before you complete the process. And once all the fields have been chosen, you're going to go ahead and click on that Update Portfolio button in the top toolbar. And what's going to happen is a kind of a modal or kind of dialog box is going to open. And that's going to say, are you sure you want to complete this? And you're going to hit OK. At that point, a successful update message should populate. If you do get any errors or you get a red banner instead of a blue success banner, you'll want to kind of take heed of that and read the error that's notated in that banner and kind of make the adjustments or changes as needed. Something that may pop up there if you did not uncheck that all locations same box on the portfolio property is it could say that you can't make updates to say buildings or units and things like that because the all location same box is still checked off or it is true. So you would have to go and make that adjustment at that time. Okay, so now that we've gone through the steps in a visual like this written manner, we're going to go through and do an actual like demo of the process. So I'll go ahead and switch over to my HFA screen. And like I said, we're going to go to the utilities panel, and then we're going to search for the portfolio property header and go to the data update tab or screen here. So this is our main screen. And from here, we're going to hit this search button. Second. And again, you can search by full deal name, partial deal name, or deal number. So here I'm going to look for Oz because that is my property that I'll be working with today. So you can see by only putting in Oz, it brought up the active deals that have Oz in them. So you can see here it also found Crozet Meadows in both the Dev and TC. But what we're wanting to look at is this Oz Apartments because that's the one that I created for this. And I'm going to go ahead and choose this Dev deal here. So again, up here, we're seeing the deal name is Oz Apartments. The deal type is the development deal. You'll see your deal number. And over here on the right is your HFA number and the property name here. So here we can see all of the fields that can be updated utilizing this update utility tool, as well as the deal values that are there. So the things that we can transfer from the dev deal over to the property. And it kind of just goes all the way down here. So you have a few options. You can pick and choose specific items you want to transfer over by just clicking in the little checkbox available. Or if you really just want to transfer everything, you can choose the select all option. In this instance, I'll go ahead and just pick and choose. So for instance here, I want to bring over, I want to bring over the latitude, the longitude. As you can see, it's listed on the deal value section, but it is not available or listed on the property. And then I'm going to go to my locations tab. So again, you can complete all of your selections before you go and hit this update portfolio button. So I can see here, there's quite a few things that are on my location, that I do not have on my property location. So things like the cooking type, the heating type, hot water, air conditioning. And so we can bring a few of these values in as well. Oh, and we can also see that it was built in 2025, and we have 7 total units here. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my entities tab. On this one, you can either, again, this is kind of the select all, so you can check this button checkbox at the top here that will provide and check off both of these entities here. Or if you do not want to bring all the entities in, you can just choose one or the other. So I'll go ahead and bring in this wonderful wizard entity. And then now that I've chosen values on both the main tab, the locations tab, and the entities tab, I can go ahead and hit this update portfolio button. And again, that dialog box comes up asking if you are sure you want to make those changes. And I do want to make those changes, so I'm going to hit OK. And I got that successful message stating that the updates have been made. So we can go ahead and go check those updates by navigating back to the portfolio property. And you can go ahead and we can check on options. And then we can see that here's that latitude and the longitude added over here. And then we can go and then for ownership structure, it did bring over the wonderful wizard owner into the system. So, and the same can be done for a TC deal. So we can again go back to our data update utility. And we can again search for Oz. You can see here we have our Oz TC deal. Click on that. And again, like I was saying before, you'll see only the main and the entities tab on a TC deal version of the portfolio property data update utility. So here we can bring over, we have 2 buildings and we don't have any employee units. So I want to bring over my building numbers. So we can go ahead and update the portfolio with that. Again, are you sure? Yes, I am, and I want to do that. So now we go back to our property. We can see now that the 2 buildings that were on the TC deal are both over here, and they came over with the bin and everything. So go ahead and go back to my presentation here. And I think that is all I have for presentation. Is there any questions at all on that process from anybody? We have a little bit of time left.
There are currently no questions.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for your time. And if you do find yourself having any questions on that process at all, don't hesitate to reach out with a support ticket or email me directly.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We really appreciate that for a great training. Thank you for everybody joining us this session as well. Hope you found really great value in everything that was covered. Now we do have a little bit of extra time, but that's just plenty of more time for you to go and sit and chat with some of your other attendees and ProLinkers as well. This is going to be our final coffee and bagel discussion for the conference. So we'd really love the opportunity to chat with you guys, answer any questions you've had about any of our sessions yesterday or today. Maybe you have a chance to talk with Jessica as well. So please take a moment from now until 3 p.m. Eastern time. So we do have a little bit of time here. You can hop into one of those discussion rooms. And then after that discussion room at 3 p.m. Eastern time, we'll be joined by Sarah Supernaut for a session on LIHTC compliance. So again, that session begins at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We hope to see everybody at that session as well in some of our coffee and bagel discussion rooms. Enjoy your break.